As I was preparing for this video, I asked myself, what is the meaning of the word bipartisan? Now, the traditional definition, this is what most people would say, is that the word bipartisan means support from Republicans and support from Democrats in Congress, in the House and the Senate for anything the government wants to do. Well, folks, the president and the administration, what they're trying to do is redefine the meaning of the word bipartisanship. Welcome to this episode of Ignition Time, everyone. My name is Dr. Chhoda with Ignition Time. Right here's some information about me. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. Let's just jump right into the new definition of the word bipartisanship, of the important phrase that is important to the future of our economy and our country. Welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Here's a new article from the Washington Post. Facing Republican opposition, President Biden seeks to redefine the meaning of bipartisanship. Here's a very interesting comment from Anita Dunn, who's a senior advisor to President Biden. If you looked up bipartisan in the dictionary, I think it would say support from Republicans and Democrats. She's speaking about in Congress. But she says, and this is the important part, it doesn't say the Republicans have to be in Congress. So what the Biden administration is doing is saying, hey, as long as we get support from the people, as long as we get support from Republican voters, we consider that bipartisanship. Even if we don't get support from Republican congressmen, congresswomen, even if we don't get support from Republican senators. Let me know what you think about this. And by the way, folks, I'm not just talking about Republican voters. I'm talking about Republican mayors, Republican governors, and Republican state officials. Here's an important comment from President Biden that gives us insight into what the Biden administration is thinking. Everybody said I had no bipartisan support. This is a comment from President Biden. The overwhelming bipartisan support were registered Republican voters. Super interesting. Here's an interesting comment from Rahm Emanuel, who's the former mayor of Chicago and chief of staff for former President Barack Obama. He said what's become crystal clear is that President Biden has redefined bipartisan. And Emanuel also said it isn't about how many Republicans I've got, it's about how many Republican voters or mayors and governors can I get to support my stuff. And Washington is slow to catch up on the Biden definition. Now, as you can imagine, not everybody's on board with this. Here's a comment from Mitt Romney, senator from Utah, the Republican. He said, a Senate evenly split between both parties and a bare Democratic House majority are hardly a mandate to go it alone. The president should live up to the bipartisanship he preached in his inaugural address. Here's a comment from Mike Donnellan, who's a senior advisor to President Biden. The Biden definition of bipartisanship is an agenda that unifies the country and appeals across the political spectrum. I think it's a pretty good definition to say you're pursuing an agenda that will unite the country, that will bring Democrats and Republicans together across the country. Presumably, if you have an agenda that is broadly popular with Democrats and Republicans across the country, then you should have elected representatives reflecting that. So what the Biden administration is saying is, hey, if we have Republican voters supporting us, it's up to the Republican senators and the Republican congressmen and congresswomen to get behind the will of the voters, because Republican voters are supporting our initiatives and Republican mayors and governors are supporting our initiatives. Pretty incredible. Let me know if you agree with this new definition of bipartisanship by President Biden. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. In the meantime, there is one very important individual, the First Lady of the United States, Dr. Jill Biden, who has been deployed by the administration to red states like Alabama. Here's a headline of an article from Axios. Jill Biden tests the White House red state messaging in the state of Alabama. Here's an important quote from Axios. Democrats passing the massive spending package with no Republican support. Now President Biden is seeking to highlight what's in it for Americans in every state as the administration sets the table for an even bigger infrastructure bill that Republican leadership has promised that they would oppose. The pandemic has hit Alabama especially hard, disproportionately impacting African Americans residents and increasing hunger and unemployment across the state. The child tax provision that is in the program could cut child poverty in half, according to the Center on Poverty and Social Security at Columbia University. And what's even more interesting is that the Bidens have been close to Doug Jones, who's a Democrat and a former prosecutor who was a senator in Alabama for 3 years. This is what Jones said. You don't just go to your supporters, you go to places where there might be some skepticism. And this is very interesting as the Biden administration rolls out its strategy to try and win over support from Republican voters in red states. Another interesting comment from the article, Alabama overwhelmingly backed former President Trump over President Biden last November, with 62% of the vote going to former President Trump. But reaching across the aisle as far as voters are concerned and engaging with Republican-controlled states is a key part of the Biden message. This really is the implementation of the new definition of bipartisanship in action in a very strategic manner. And folks, this is not the only thing the Biden administration is doing. As you know, they are also trying to redefine the meaning of the word infrastructure. In other words, essentially making the case that infrastructure extends beyond physical infrastructure and it extends into human infrastructure. Here's a new report on your screen from the Associated Press. The White House grades state infrastructure as it pushes the bill. In other words, the Biden administration is talking to different states and saying, look, your roads are bad, your bridges are bad, you need a makeover, you need a do-over, as the president is trying to gain support in specific states for the upcoming infrastructure plan. In fact, folks, in a first at Ignition Time, we were actually able to get our hands on the document that President Biden is essentially distributing to create the case with different states. Folks, this is a 104-page PDF file. You'll see the PDF file on your screen now, and we'll provide you with a link to this PDF file in the description section below. This is a first, this is a scoop for Ignition Time, and you'll only get this on our channel. You can see that this 104-page document starts with the state of Alaska, the need for action in Alaska, and let's start to scroll down as you'll see the need for improved infrastructure in different states with a state-specific plan from the Biden administration, and the headline says American Jobs Plan. As we scroll down, you'll see the need for action in Alabama. We scroll down further, you'll see the need for action in Arkansas. And this document, this entire document goes through the needs for improved infrastructure in every state across the country. Let's scroll down this document, everyone. And I urge you, my viewers and subscribers, if you're watching this video, click on the link in the description section below so you can access this document, which is state specific, which highlights the plan from the Biden administration to improve state infrastructure and tries to get support in individual states. Let's actually highlight one state. Let's highlight the state of California. Let's take a look at this page. This is page 9 of the document, the need for action in California, roads and bridges. In California, there are 1,536 bridges and over 14,220 miles of highway in poor condition. Since 2011, commute times have increased by 14.6% in California, and on average, each driver pays $799 a year in cost due to driving on roads in needs of repair. And similarly, the Biden administration makes a case for an improvement in public transportation, resilient infrastructure, drinking water, housing, broadband, caregiving, childcare, manufacturing, home energy, clean energy jobs, and veterans health, with data that is specific to every single state, folks. So definitely check out this document. Again, we'll show you this document on your screen. It's a 104-page document that provides state-specific highlights on the need for infrastructure in every state across the country. And this document, again, is a scoop from Ignition Time. And as this is happening, President Biden is facing pressure from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and from the independent senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders. Imagine President Biden being in the middle, House Speaker Pelosi being on one side, and the independent senator, the one and only Bernie Sanders from Vermont, being on the other. President Biden is actually facing pressure from both of these individuals about doubling down on Obamacare versus expanding Medicare. Pretty interesting. The House Democratic leadership and Bernie Sanders are actually split about what should be the priority in President Biden's next package. I'll provide you with a link to this article in the description section below. But in short, House Speaker Pelosi wants to make the Obamacare subsidies permanent. That is what she's telling the White House to try and do. And what Bernie Sanders wants to do is drop the Medicare age from the current age of 60 down to 55, okay? And he also wants to expand Medicare to include dental and vision. So this is what's going on. These are the conflicting factions within the Democratic Party, the House leadership on one side and Bernie Sanders, who's rather influential, on the other side, as President Biden tries to craft the next infrastructure package while trying to redefine what it means to be bipartisan. That's it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. If you want to do me a favor, please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. That would mean a lot to me personally, and that really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I want you to know that you are greatly appreciated. All I ask of you is please just take a second of your time to click click the like button, to click subscribe and enable notifications. That would be awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.